When things went bad, NBA YoungBoy was enjoying his brother's debut song release.
I didn't I'll kill my little son. I made me cry this morning, boy.
According to reports, guns went off, and YB is now seen crying, with some speculating that his next move could completely alter the situation. Blood enters, blood exits. NBA YoungBoy's brother, Bway Young, dropped his debut song and slipped out of the feds. The officers who had been on YoungBoy's neck for years made it clear that they continued to smoke for the entire camp. Bway Young is more than just a guy attempting to undermine his brother's influence. It's blood. Additionally, whether you asked for one or not, having a blood tie to NBA YoungBoy comes with a price. Bway Young released a new song titled In This Beyond or around February 20th, 2026. This was his first release after declining a bid. The song featured the unadulterated, drill-heavy energy you would anticipate from someone who was raised in YoungBoy's trenches. Chest-out bars, street banter, and the kind of music that lets you know a man has something to say after returning home. Videos began to circulate on social media. The song had not yet gained widespread recognition, but it was picked up by hip-hop bloggers. The moment was more talked about than the song since Bway Young didn't return home to stillness. There was a full-fledged conflict when he returned home. His brother, NBA YoungBoy, real name Kentrell, it is embroiled in one of the most vicious feuds in rap history. Furthermore, this is not the kind of feud that remains between two artists exchanging subtle messages on wax. Families are impacted by this. It gets to the brothers. Anyone near enough to claim NBA is reached by it. Bway Young was reportedly back in the spotlight for a second-degree murder charge from late January 2026 before the song ever made it into the internet. The music arrived before everything else collapsed, and the legal heat came before the music. That's the order. When your lineage reconnects with YoungBoy, that's how quickly things change. However, you must comprehend the relationship between these two in order to truly see why Bway Young's release of a single song could put him back in danger. This is not about a rapper and his neighborhood buddy. This is about real brothers. Bway Young was asked about his friendship with YoungBoy during an interview. At first, he didn't say much, but his words were significant.
And talk to me about your relationship with your brother.
With my brother? That's my brother.
My brother is that no additional words are required. However, as the journalist probed a bit further, Bway Young spoke up about the underlying significance of YoungBoy to him.
Is it a close relationship that you have as well? Yeah.
Man, we got a close relationship. He more like a father, but a brother at the same time.
A brother and a father, combined into one individual. He then explained the rationale behind it.
I never had a father, that's why I respect him the way I do.
Young said nothing about the mansions, the chains, or the streams when the journalist asked him how it felt to know that his brother is possibly the biggest rapper alive. He discussed what it truly meant to him. Inspiration.
He's potentially the biggest rap star in the world. That must be a surreal feeling for you as well.
It's motivation, especially knowing where we come from.
Has been anything as children. No silver spoon, no safety net. The type of upbringing where reaching the age of 18 is a feat in and of itself. YoungBoy didn't just make it, either. He became one of the world's most streamed performers. That wasn't some distant celebrity tale for Bway Young. His older brother was displaying the blueprint to him. Furthermore, YoungBoy didn't merely set an example from a distance. He promptly inserted that battery into his brother's back.
Has he given you much advice as well on your music and how to steer your career?
He always remind me that I'm the sickest.
He says, "I'm the sickest all the time." YoungBoy repeatedly told his younger brother that he understood, that he was that guy, and that he made a fool of himself on the microphone.
That basically means like, I go hard, like, I'm that thing. He always remind me.
Therefore, Bway Young wasn't only posting a song online for amusement when he won his bid and released In This He was doing just what his brother had said he was destined for. He was entering the lane that YoungBoy had been preparing him for. In a field where his last name is simultaneously the biggest curse and the biggest flex. He was attempting to create his own bag. Because fame isn't the problem with being YoungBoy's sibling. It is accompanied with smoke, and for years that smoke has been blowing, aimed not only at YoungBoy but also at anyone standing beside him, anyone with his genetic makeup, anyone who wears the NBA flag. Bway Young is the result. This refers to their brother, NBA OG33. This applies to each and every person who claims the camp. Furthermore, these aren't only online threats from keyboard warriors who don't follow through. Some of America's most active blockers are the source of these threats. They stem from a conflict that has already resulted in deaths on both sides. They originate from those who consistently demonstrate that they will support every word they write with practical action. You have to comprehend the battle his brother has been engaged in order to appreciate the gravity of what Bway Young entered the moment he dropped that song, the origins of that battle. can be traced back to a single night in Atlanta that, while altered the course of history, how the meet became conflict between the Chicago faction Lil Durk, O-Block, Only the Family, etc. and NBA YoungBoy's camp didn't start over a clever remark in an interview or a diss single. Over a body, it kicked off one of the coldest stories to ever emerge from Chicago's O-Block. King Von was struck outside an Atlanta nightclub in November 2020 and did not survive. One of YoungBoy's early associates, Quando Rondo, was directly targeted by the smoke that caused his demise. When Rando and his group got into a heated fight that resulted in gunfire, everyone on the opposing side drew a straight connection from Quando Rando to NBA YoungBoy, despite the fact that YoungBoy was nowhere near Atlanta that evening at that point. The threats escalated from trivial rap drama to something far darker. It wasn't two artists vying for viewers' attention and clicks. This was the kind of retaliatory energy that doesn't fade after a few weeks. It was genuine anguish and wrath. For O-Block, King Von was more than just a rapper. He spoke for them. He was the one who transformed their suffering, losses, and pride into records that the entire world could relate to. The individuals he left behind desired revenge after he was eliminated, not within the booth. On the streets, the conflict escalated into what many began to refer to as an interstate gang war. Traveling from Baton Rouge to Atlanta to Chicago, affiliates on both sides caught slugs intended for the set they represented rather than for themselves. Threats of death became commonplace. Diss tracks turned into lethal weapons. With each successive publication, an uncrossable line is drawn. YoungBoy added fuel to the fire by using bars that completely eliminated any possibility of misunderstanding. Rapping about smoking on King Von's memory, he used the man's passing as a cause for celebration. He then said something about an Atlanta boy being folded up, which was another obvious allusion to Von's dismissal. These weren't clever wordplay subliminals. These bars were designed to elicit the most violent reaction from those who had already demonstrated that they were prepared to slide, and the clapback was just what you would anticipate. Members of O-Block appeared on camera, trampling out green flags, a color associated with YoungBoy's for KT crew, and burning them, giving a very clear message. This is no longer rap beef. This is a personal matter that affects everyone you care about. One of King Von's closest advisors and right-hand men, Lil Durk, responded to YoungBoy's provocations with a deliberate coldness that was somehow more frightening than outright fury. Durk's sole reaction to YoungBoy's threats, such as "you're going to die," was a social media post that said, "Go quickly." He sat directly in front of King Von's mural on Instagram Live and looked directly into the camera without saying a word. The message was quite clear. He wasn't shaken and was just waiting. However, YoungBoy and Durk's threats didn't end there. The issue with these beefs is always that they disperse. Everyone caught in the crossfire is swallowed as they bleed outward. From the two primary characters, the entire NBA camp was placed on notice by affiliates. Not only Young, but also his people, brothers, and allies like Quando Rando. O-Block members candidly discussed the mentality driving their side of the conflict during interviews, a way of thinking that was based on the loss of individuals such as King Von, where each burial added another cause to top the previous one. This was hardly a long simmering beef. It was an open wound that kept getting torn open again. Every new diss track, Instagram post, and concert announcement added fuel to the fire. Furthermore, the individuals issuing the threats made it abundantly evident that YoungBoy was not the only target. YoungBoy's brother, NBA OG33, spoke out in public about the threats sent at the entire NBA camp, which is directly connected to YoungBoy's MS tour and includes blood relations like himself and Bway Young. The threats were linked to both King Von's former territory and members of Lil Durk's social circle. OG33 didn't sugarcoat their situation. These weren't just any trolls using burner accounts. The NBA family took the messages from these individuals, who had established connections to actual street activity, seriously enough to address them in front of the entire globe, and Bway Young returned home to that environment, a conflict that has been going on for more than 5 years with no signs of a ceasefire. He was born into YoungBoy's family with a target stitched to his back and a music career that, by definition, would put him back in the spotlight, exactly where his brother's operations desired him. Threats, retaliatory diss songs, burning flags, organized social media intimidation operations, and actual violence that left individuals dead on both sides have already resulted from the war, and it was about to result in something much more dramatic, an incident that demonstrated to everyone in attendance the extent to which YoungBoy's adversaries would go in order to make their point. The concert that was physically attacked, O-Block and their affiliates reacted angrily as soon as NBA YoungBoy announced the MS, which would include a stop at the United Center in Chicago. They interpreted it as blatant contempt. They weren't going to let YoungBoy, the man whose right hand was involved in King Von's demise, perform on O-Block's property in Von City without making a big deal out of it. The Chicago show faced attacks from all sides. YoungBoy would not survive if he entered that United Center stage, according to clear warnings from O-Block affiliates that there was no subtlety or coding in the language. One message that was circulating said, "I'll bet you all a lot of money if YB attends a performance and stays in Chicago, I swear." Furthermore, YoungBoy wasn't the only target of the threats. They reached out to Quando Randa and anyone else connected to the NBA camp who might arrive at the building that evening. However, the threats went beyond tough words and social media posturing. The situation worsened to the point where the venue was forced to take action, according to someone who claimed to have first-hand knowledge of what transpired behind closed doors.
What really happened was why YB ended up canceling the show is because it was a lot of death threats being sent to the United Center.
The United Center received death threats directly, not just hazy online discourse from unidentified accounts. The building itself received actual calls outlining the consequences of YoungBoy touching the stage.
This was that people was actually calling the United Center. People was actually calling United Center and letting them know like
there was no room for interpretation regarding the repercussions of holding the show because people were going straight to the venue and delivering messages. This is where it becomes crucial.
If this show happened, it's gonna go down up there. It was a lot of little fake death threats and that actually going on, like, you feel me? So, like I told y'all before, King Von, he had a lot of fans. He got a lot of enemies too, and he got a lot of people that, you feel me, that like YB. He got a lot of people that like YB like they like him. But the thing is, like, this his city.
YoungBoy did not turn off the electricity. The same source claimed that YoungBoy was confined. He desired to perform in the show. Regardless of who objected, he was prepared to enter the lion's den and perform for his admirers, but he wasn't the one who made the call. United Center co-signed the decision.
You had a lot of motherfucking death threats that was called in the United Center. Don't be out here acting like YB backed out of this shit. It wasn't YB decision to do it. Let's say that. It was his label decision.
And the label pulled the plug. At the last minute, all sides came together and decided that the risk was too great to proceed.
YB didn't cancel the show. The label and the United Center, they came together.
Together, they destroyed the entire thing. And bread and safety were the two main points of contention.
And they made this decision at the last minute because it was death threats coming through the United Center about if YB did the show, that it was gonna go down up there, and you feel me? And the United Center didn't want to have to pay for extra security. You know what I'm saying?
Just the financial picture was outrageous. According to reports, YoungBoy was guaranteed between $600,000 and $700,000 for the performance alone. However, the label informed the United Center that they needed to significantly improve security due to the deluge of threats.
We gonna need y'all to beef up on the security and like that, right? The United Center didn't want to do it.
After calculating the numbers, the United Center decided against it. YoungBoy's bag has already put them in danger. They were now being asked to put together the kind of operation you'd typically associate with a presidential visit rather than a hip-hop performance, throw on extra security expenses, and bring in on-duty police officers.
They told the label that whoop the bam, like, if we gotta do all of this, it's getting to the point where we ain't making no money at this, man, and we gotta beef up.
Even before the doors opened, the facility was losing money. The math simply didn't match up anymore because of the performance review, the increased security detail, and the cost of having uniformed cops stationed around the building, all of which came from the United Center's purse. Then came the point at which everything fell apart.
So we already done paid this man $600,000-$700,000. Now we gotta beef up security and we gotta have on-duty police officers here. Y'all know how much this shit costing us?
These days, it was more than simply threats of death. An O-Block affiliate named Nemo entered an interview and made a statement that shocked the entire company.
Like, they get the call and up there, and it was those motherfucking interviews when Memo jumped his ass up on that interview and he said it's gonna be a fan that walk up on YB and he got a bomb strapped to him.
A bomb-strapped fan. A whole new wave of threats, including direct bomb threats directed at the United Center, were triggered by that comment. That was the end of it.
They started doing like bomb threats and shit at the United Center, to the United Center, blood. They was doing all type of shit like that, blood. They ended up canceling the show.
The program was cancelled. It wasn't because YoungBoy was shaken. It wasn't that he didn't want to perform. However, the operations team's desire for him to leave rendered it, logistically and financially, impossible for the event to proceed without incident. YoungBoy's feelings over the entire affair were made
His label canceled the show. He didn't cancel it. Right now, my source telling me right now that YB is pissed. They say YB pissed off right now.
Evident by the source, YoungBoy was attractive. He did not fold. He was overruled. And that contrast is crucial because it reveals just what kind of man he is. The same bravery that made him one of the most well-known performers in the world would have allowed him to perform on that stage in Chicago even though he was were aware that some of the audience members would be strapped. What everyone in YoungBoy's camp already knew was confirmed by the cancelled show. There were other dangers than only Cap. They were able to stop a significant arena event in one of the nation's largest cities because they were well organized, tenacious, and strong. What could they do to YoungBoy's younger brother, who recently returned from a trip and without the same resources, security, or public profile? If they could do all that to a man with millions of dollars and substantial security surrounding him, Bway Young released in this Be Under That Shadow, the shadow of his brother's entire fight. Not just his brother's notoriety. A history of destroying every bridge. You must comprehend a basic aspect of NBA YoungBoy in order to properly navigate the minefield that Bway Young entered. The dude has a unrelenting tendency of going scorched earth on dawn about anyone who comes into contact with him. It's not only opposing rap cliques or rival gang members. YoungBoy has betrayed his own signees, insulted his own mother, fought with his own supporters, and violated those who once wholeheartedly supported him. A man with smoke flowing from every aspect is the result of all of that, and since they are related by blood, a younger brother is exposed to all of that residual heat. Consider the No Cap scenario. YoungBoy signed No Cap to their label. He belonged to the inner circle. For a full 3 years, he held it down for YoungBoy. However, No Cap responded to a fan's request on Twitter in late 2022 to release new songs with Top in a seemingly typical manner. He claimed that in order to avoid being accused of blowing up just due of YoungBoy's cosign, he wanted to establish himself first. YoungBoy lost it over just one tweet. He took to Instagram and began criticizing a man who had consistently shown him loyalty. He referred to him as an employee. He informed him that since he doesn't rock with him in that way, they don't collaborate on songs. He openly claimed that No Cap paid him, thereby implying that being on YoungBoy's label meant you were not treated like a partner but rather do tribute. YoungBoy became even more aggressive when No Cap retaliated by outlining his allegiance and the 3 years he kept things together. I'm calling him broke, clowning his tax issues, using all of his personal information as a weapon against the man. The conflict with No Cap wasn't isolated. There was a pattern. The streets speculate that No Cap's refusal to get involved in YoungBoy's conflict with Lil Durk was the true reason YoungBoy turned against him. Staying neutral is equivalent to picking the other side in YoungBoy's reality. You are against him if you are not joining him in the conflict, and that kind of thinking doesn't only turn opponents into operatives, it turns former family members into operatives. Moneybagg Yo experienced precisely the same thing. The two were close enough to release a whole collaborative tape together in 2017. However, YoungBoy began disparaging the project and Moneybagg Yo on Instagram almost soon after the audio was released. No justification, not a trigger. YoungBoy's gang and Moneybagg Yo's team reportedly got into a fight in a mall soon after the falling out, demonstrating the raw, unpredictable animosity that turned a creative collaboration into a physical altercation. Then there was DJ Flip, with whom Boosie had made arrangements for studio use when it came time to lay some vocals. YoungBoy glanced at the man whose studio it was and uttered a single word. He had sneaked through to the same room and was sitting on the couch with his girl.
Wait, hold on. Why did he kick you out the studio?
Bro, I don't know what he was on that day. I with him heavy though. So Boosie's like, yo, Flip, I need a studio.
It was all put up by Boosie. DJ Flip prepared everything. Then YoungBoy arrived.
Boom, pulled up, got the studio ready for him. And then YoungBoy pulled up and then he wanted to record, and
YoungBoy's entire aura may be summed up in a single moment by what happened next.
he just like looking mad. He's cuddling on the couch and with his girl, and then he's about to record and he's like,
with a single phrase, he struck the man whose studio he was sitting in, which had been prepared as a solid.
He's like, exit. He looked at me and said, exit.
I'm sorry, would you mind going outside for a moment? Not, bro, give us a minute. Go out. YoungBoy behaves in this way, even toward those who go above and above to protect him, with a directness that verges on disdain. Then there was the move that, even by YoungBoy's extreme standards, went too far, attacking India Royale, Lil Durk's girl. YoungBoy didn't keep the smoke between him and Durk during their exchange of diss tracks in 2022. In the song I Hate YoungBoy, he called India out by name with lyrics that left no room for interpretation. Additionally, YoungBoy took advantage of another opportunity to twist the knife when Durk and India later broke up and a video of India dancing appeared on the timeline, tweeting, "I know how that turns into a demon, LOL." Attempting to make fun of both of them in front of the entire internet, India reappeared. She warned YoungBoy not to mention her name as she let it rock the first time, and that she doesn't play about Dirk because he's still her child's father. Vintage top was YoungBoy's reply. I'm certain that you won't mother * ink play with me, telling a woman that if she continued to test him, things could turn really bad for her as well. YoungBoy's entire run in this game has been characterized by this behavioral model: confrontation with no boundaries. Without hesitation, show disrespect. A readiness to say and do anything comes to mind, no matter the consequences for everyone around him, not just for himself. Because his mother went live on Instagram, she was expelled from the crib he had purchased for her. At an event in Florence, South Carolina, YoungBoy and Quando Rando stomped out his DJ backstage for what seemed to be no cause at all. The DJ suffered injuries severe enough to be prosecuted, including a broken tooth. His performances have been plagued by instances where attendees snuck blicks into the arena, resulting in the kind of security catastrophe that ultimately contributed to the cancellation in Chicago. Each of these occurrences adds a new name to the list of individuals who harbor resentment towards YoungBoy. He poses a threat with each bridge he burns. Furthermore, he is not the only target of those threats. They fall on those who are closest to him, and Bway Young is the person closest to him, who views him as both a brother and a father figure. Bway Young did not agree to inherit these adversaries. He didn't pick the conflict with No Cap, the fight with O-Block, or the death threats coming from Chicago. However, choosing has nothing to do with being YoungBoy's blood. Whether you enlisted or not, you are a part of the war. It's like walking into a room full of people who have been waiting for just this kind of opportunity. When you unleash a song and put yourself out there with aggressive drill bars and the NBA brand stamped on your persona, the cost of family of the brutality that permeates NBA YoungBoy's world doesn't exist in a fictional setting. There are names associated with it. There are dates on it. People whose sole transgression was being associated with the most divisive rapper of his generation suffer repercussions that extend far beyond the studio and stage. Yaya Mayweather, YoungBoy's baby mama, was allegedly approached by 2 of his other girlfriends while she was holding their child. Rival sets and diss albums have nothing to do with the circumstance. YoungBoy's internal turmoil culminated in hands being flung at his own children's mothers. His mother attested to the fact that he gave $1 million to one of his baby mamas, who subsequently abducted his daughter and son and disappeared into a custody battle that added even more stress to an already strained family dynamic. Furthermore, the threats are not limited to those who are personally acquainted with YoungBoy. A young child who was just a young boy, music lover, was threatened with being tied up by an O-Block member, a kid who had nothing to do with the beef. No participation in gang politics. Apart from banging a rapper's songs, there is absolutely no engagement. No indication that the escalation will stop each new tune, each time a post is made, every time someone flying the NBA banner makes a fresh public appearance. It could set off the cycle's next phase. Bway Young is aware of all of this. He watched it happen in real time as a child. He saw his brother grow into one of the world's most well-known musicians and one of the most sought-after rap artists. He saw NBA OG 33 publicly discuss the threats their family frequently receives. With his own murder charge, he experienced the court system firsthand. Even so, he left those gates and set a record. Since YoungBoy instructed him to do so, he was told he was the sickest by YoungBoy. He gets dumb. According to YoungBoy, he's the thing. YoungBoy told him. And Bway Small took his brother at his word, just as he has been doing since they were small children without fathers, depending on one another because they had no one else to support them. In this B is an aggressive, hostile, and unrepentant song. That's precisely the kind of music that becomes quite popular in hip-hop circles, and precisely the kind of music that makes you feel vulnerable. When your brother's operations are keeping a close eye on everything you do, the videos that went viral on social media attracted notice. More attention was drawn to the responses. Furthermore, attention is both a death sentence and a bag in the world that YoungBoy lives in. Warnings such as these have been circulated by O-Block affiliates. That show will be rainy. Everyone in the culture interprets the coded language as a threat of gunfire. YoungBoy wasn't the only target of those cautions. They reached out to the entire camp. The entire lineage. Everyone who wears an NBA uniform. After a prison sentence, Bway Young released his debut song, not into a welcoming business that is prepared to embrace a fresh perspective, not onto a level playing field where your ability is the only factor that decides your success. He threw it into a 5-year conflict that killed people, ruined relationships, wrecked jobs, and devoured his brother's life. He dropped it with the knowledge that the same people who threatened to put YoungBoy in a box during his own concert burned 4KT flags in front of the world on TV and called bomb threats into the United Center. These same individuals are now targeting a different family member. And that's the tale of how Bway Young's first song released by the government grew to be much more than just a single song. It turned into the most recent development in a tale of family ties, brutality, and loyalty that has characterized NBA YoungBoy's career from the beginning. A story in which the price of being a family isn't expressed in money or streams. Threats are used to gauge it. In shows that were cancelled. Within coffins. And in the harsh fact that your brother's adversaries will always know your name. regardless of how far you flee or how high you rise. He was the sickest, YoungBoy told his younger sibling. Go hard. He told him he was the thing. He told him Bway Young paid attention. He let go of his joint. He moved into the illumination. The entire world is currently anticipating what will happen next. Tell me this then. Should YoungBoy take a different approach or simply step up after this most recent setback in his family? Please share your thoughts in the comment area. For more videos like this, click on this next card on your screen.